My name is Dee, and I'm here with Tracey.
Hi, everyone.
And we are gathered together today to do the moon circle for full moon in Aquarius.
Hello. So it's full moon in Aquarius. I'm just going to talk you through some of the bits and pieces you will need before we get started. And then we're going to guide you on a meditation, which Dee will do, a lovely journey based around this full moon. And then we're going to do a little bit of journaling and reflection together on what this period means. So before we start, as usual, you may know how it works by now. Just get yourself comfortable, grab a blanket, grab a notebook, make sure you're in your sacred space, don't we say, Dee? And in this full moon in Aquarius, we do have some suggested bits for you to bring along, but please feel free to use your own aromas, essential oils, and
whatever
crystals.
calls to you.
Yeah.
We're not telling you to go out and buy all the crystals under the sun or the oils. These are just suggestions for this time of the lunar cycle / zodiac sign.
With it being in Aquarius. So, for the aromas, we've suggested lavender, lemon verbena, patchouli and pine. Really nice, quite
relaxing
gentle,
ones,
relaxing
and earthy and very grounding. Lavender and lemon verbena are obviously great for stress relief, relaxing. Lemon verbena, if you've ever had it in a tea,
I was going to say, you gave me some to make some tea. It's a really nice one for anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. And patchouli and pine are very grounding, earthy scents.
Bring you can focus, actually, because this full moon is quite a focused one. It's quite a one orientated around the mind, but I'll explain Aquarius a little bit later on. And then for crystals, citrine. My favourite one, Dee, citrine, the stone of sunshine. But for this one, we fought for a bit of creativity. Smoky quartz. Smoky quartz has lots of different properties, but it really is good at lifting negativity and detracting any negative energy. Tourmaline.
It's one of my favourites.
Do you like tourmaline?
Yeah.
It's a really good protector, but for this instance, I think it's a good one to increase mental alertness because, as I just said, Aquarius, quite a logical sign, quite a good one for thinking. So although we'll be reflecting, it will probably be more around the brain than emotions. And finally, amethyst.
General, great, magical.
Good healer, but also good for balancing energies. It absorbs where it's needed and it gives out where it's needed. So grab whatever you feel appropriate, but they're the suggested ones. Enjoy your meditation. Dee's going to take you through that now, and then we'll do a little bit of journaling afterwards.
This meditation exercise is actually from Monash University, and it's one I love because it's called Training the Puppy. So if you're like me, I can't meditate on my own in the way that people kind of think of meditation. Yeah. My mind wanders way too much. I much prefer guided meditations because I can stay on track better. But this is a good one to try to encourage you to meditate a bit more without beating yourself up. So the idea is that you think of your mind as a puppy, and when it wanders, you just gently train it back to where you want it to go. So it's just a really lovely, for us dog people, really lovely metaphor and a really nice way to think about it. Like with a puppy, when you notice your mind wander, just bring it back to where you want it to be. So let's take 5 minutes now to meditate once again and to cultivate this attitude of friendliness towards ourselves. So you might like to sit. Take a moment to check in with your body. Do you have any points that feel niggly? Do you need to wiggle any part of you, your toes or your shoulders? Take a moment to check in on your mind. Allowing things to be just as they are. And bringing your attention to the breath. So I want you to focus on breathing in. And breathing out. And breathing in. And breathing out. And just think about the natural movement of your breath. How your breathing in and breathing out affects your face, your stomach. You feel your breath going in and going out. Follow its journey in your body. And just be genuinely interested in what it feels like to take each breath. Resting your attention lightly there on your breath. And as we do this, you'll notice that your attention inevitably wanders off from time to time. And any moment that you notice your attention wanders off and wanders away from your breath, just gently bring it back. So just bring it back to your breath, breathing in and breathing out. And see how gentle you can be and how patient you can be with yourself as you notice your mind wandering and you just simply bring it back. Become interested in the breath once again. And you're breathing in and you're breathing out. So it's just about noticing when the mind wanders, giving ourselves permission for the mind to wander, knowing that it's just going to happen, and being kind to ourselves when it does. It's just a natural quality of the mind to wander off, to be curious. But as soon as we notice it has, we don't let it wander off and stay wandered. We notice it as soon as it has, and we just gently bring it back. And we're just going to do that over and over as many times as needed. And we're going to see how gentle we can be, how patient we can be with ourselves. Remembering that anything we practice, we get better at. So if we notice the mind has wandered, then we gently bring it back. We're actually cultivating this attitude of gentleness with ourselves. And if there's any moment that we're a little bit too self-critical or harsh, we might start to notice how it actually makes us tense. Perhaps it makes it even harder to keep the attention rested lightly on the breath. And any judgment or self-criticism also just takes us further and further into default mode. And you might start to recognize that the easiest way to bring the attention back is simply to notice that it has wandered and come back without any judgment, without any self-criticism. Just training the mind like you would train the puppy. And focusing on breathing in and breathing out. We're thinking about this breath, this moment, and just noticing what it's like to practice in this way with self-kindness. What happens when you bring this attitude of gentleness and friendliness to yourself. Noticing the effect on the body, on the mind, the overall effect on the meditation. We're just going to stay in this state and bring our mind back whenever we see that it's wandered. And so we'll now have a 2-minute silence. Focusing on the breath. Being kind to yourself when your mind wanders. bringing it back to where you want it to be. And then whenever you're ready, just slowly allowing your eyes to open. Come back into the room or into the space.
Thank you.
I think it's just a super important message to be kind to yourself when you're trying to meditate. And hear it time and time again from people that they just don't know how to meditate. It takes practice. You're not going to just instantly be able to clear your mind of all thoughts, right?
No. Practice and sometimes timing as well.
Yeah,
you know,
there's going to be certain
find the right time in your life to do it. And what better time than a full moon? Oh, Dee, that was so nice. I'm just having to gear myself to wake up now to guide you all through Aquarius.
And I think it's also a really good reminder not to beat yourself up about meditating. That's the opposite of what it's meant to be doing for you. Yeah. So if you're going to come to the practice beating yourself up and being self-critical, then you might as well not even bother. So much better to just be really kind to yourself. Don't expect yourself to be an expert right off the bat. And if you need to do guided meditations, then do that.
We've said before, the more you pressure yourself to do a perfect meditation, the more you won't be able to, because you'll just get agitated, and the perfectionist within you will just block the things that you probably need for meditation.
And you can do it in different forms as well. You might choose to take a mindful walk instead, or, you'll talk to spiritual people and yogis themselves who will tell you that they have times where they just can't, the meditation practice or the yoga practice doesn't go as they want.
No.
So there's no point beating yourself up. Just do what you can and just
try your best and enjoy.
Exactly.
That's the main thing. Oh, wow. I really enjoyed that, Dee, and it worked for me.
Plus
I'm sat
puppies,
here very
right?
relaxed. So grab your notebook, and like Dee said, there is no perfect meditation, and the chances are that whilst relaxing, you might have some thoughts that have popped into your head that you breathed out. Maybe it was a to-do list. Maybe you're thinking about what shopping to get tonight. Maybe it's reflecting on all the points that you've achieved up until this time.
I quite often try to do my meditations with a notepad next to me, purposely, so when these thoughts, if something pops into my mind and I'm like, oh, but I can't forget that because it's actually important, whether it is or not is obviously up for debate, but I just write it down.
You can write it
so
down.
that I can forget about it and carry on with my
Release
practice.
it and let it go.
Much better than trying to obsess about not forgetting it, like trying to continue your meditation while trying to not forget this thing that you're convinced you need to remember.
And it's amazing the things that will pop up in your head.
When you give your mind space.
Journey. Yeah. It depending to this point, we've had new moon, we've followed the phases. Now is the point where we're stopping and we're reflecting and we're releasing everything that we've done up until this point. So please grab your notebook. Just take a few minutes to write down anything that popped into your head. Like Dee says, it could be your to-do list, or it could be something more deeper that you've thought of that's popped up in your life. Maybe a person, maybe it's something that you've seen that you aspire to go or do or say.
How you found this meditation. If you think you might try this meditation again, jot down a couple of notes of how you felt it, because I guarantee if you do it a few more times, you will find that you get better, in quotation marks, at it, that you get more from it. So
keep practicing. Keep practicing. Full moon in Aquarius is quite a logical sign, so it is one where you do use your head a lot. So in terms of meditation, it might be quite a difficult one to completely let go and not think of things, because naturally Aquarius is a very logical sign. It's a sign that plans for the future, so you may be sitting there planning on what you're doing next week or even in an hour. But it's a lovely one where you can actually maybe drift off to see your future and plan ahead. And hopefully you had some really nice visualizations in that meditation to note down of maybe you saw a future self next week or next year.
Can I just say I'm super excited about full moon in Aquarius, because it's my moon sign, and because this idea that it's going to be a great time conducive to planning your future. You know how I love planning and stuff like that, so I get super excited when
this is Dee's time. The Aquarians really do favour their head rather than the heart in many ways. They like to have legacy, and the sign is very much a planning sign, so thinking ahead. It's a humanitarian sign, so they like to gather information, develop opinions, learn and project a future, it's not just about the here and now, it's about thinking ahead so you can mark your spot on the map and on the planet. So the questions which I'd like you to have a little think about is, and I've just said this about Aquarius acting with your head a lot, but am I acting too much from my head and not from my heart? Because there is a danger, particularly at this time, or if you are at this time a fire or an air sign, so that's Leo,
if you're
Aquarius
inclined.
Yes, if you're very Aquarius, Leo, Gemini, Aries, Libra, Sagittarius, all of the air and fire signs, this is a good full moon for you, but really have a think. Am I too logical? Am I thinking a little bit too much? How is my mind ruling over my emotions? Ask yourself, is head ruling over heart?
So it's a good time to have a little time reflecting on what's going on in your heart, and are you ignoring anything there?
Don't block it out. Exactly. Have a little see. Dig deep. Maybe something came up in your meditation too. Am I surrounding myself with the right people in my life right now? That people that will project me forward, people that support me, people that have the right energy for me.
I always think of a good indicator is people that you lose track of time with.
Yeah.
Right? Because
really
that to me is a very childlike quality of, going out to play after school and just losing track of time completely.
Yeah.
We don't do that enough as adults.
No, we don't. We've got busy lives.
We've got our phones in our hands all the time that tell us the time, etc., etc.
We get distracted very easily.
Yeah.
And in the fast-moving world, I think we also get very bored easily as well.
Yeah.
But surrounding yourself with the right people is super important at any time. But as in Aquarius, the humanitarian aspect, this sign really depends on social interaction to gather the information for moving forward.
Yeah. And I think the people that matter to you most will also help you remember the heart side, right?
Yeah.
Because, make sure you're not forgetting anything and you're doing things that make you happy, not just what's logical or, what you tell yourself makes most sense.
This is another interesting part of Aquarius. And I've said this before, it's a rebellious sign. So it's almost like they gather the information. This is a time for gathering, being around humans, taking the bits you want that suit you, not taking the bits that don't quite suit you, developing your own path, and almost being quite extroverted, quite rebellious. It's not really copying other people, it's not following the flock of sheep, it's developing your own sense of self. So that's why they say it's a rebellious sign.
I think that ties in with the humanitarian side as well, because that very much is the idea of sort of changing something that's not right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like working in the charity sector or doing some charity work. It's fixing a wrong in society, usually.
Yeah.
Helping people or animals that have fallen through the gaps that aren't being cared for properly.
So being around the right people where you have the same objectives is almost really important with this sign. So make sure you are surrounded by the right people in your life to get the objectives that you need. And also ask yourself, am I struggling to let go of anything? We should do this on every full moon.
Every day.
Doesn't matter what sign it's in.
No.
Release. Let it go. Don't feed your monsters by replaying the same thing, because then you're not making space for the new.
And this can be yourself and other people. Is there anything that you need to forgive yourself for or other people?
Yes.
Right?
It
could be anything.
Yourself.
It could be, negative thoughts about something you did or said, or some behaviour that you keep on telling yourself that you need to just let go of.
Yeah, sometimes change is needed, and you need to let go of the old, like I say, to bring in the new, to move towards the future, because like I say, Aquarius is a future planner, not living in the now, but thinking towards what's happening ahead. So hopefully that's given you a bit of food for thought with your journaling. Write down, like I say, anything that popped up. And I'm just going to go through now some other bits to note for this full moon in Aquarius. Affected organs day. Now, for full moon in Aquarius, it says to take special care of your calves, ankles, and Achilles heels. So feet.
That's interesting, isn't it?
And legs. Yeah. I've talked through the aromas and the crystals already, but just to remind you, they're quite gentle smells, good for anxiety.
You might consume these smells in different ways, right?
Yeah.
You might have them in your oil diffusers,
tea,
in a tea, in your cooking with verbena, lavender even.
Yeah.
in your bath bomb, in your moon bath.
Yeah.
However you...
Lovely lavender moon bath with a nice candle.
Ooh.
Beautiful. So they're really good for anxiety, but I don't think they're quite sleepy ones because you've got some nice deep musky ones.
No, they're kind of just stress relief, grounding, great for meditations, great for moon baths. Yeah.
And the crystals, again, we'll mention citrine, the creative one, smoky quartz to lift negativity, tourmaline for mental alertness, and amethyst to balance energy. Now, the element of Aquarius is air. It's an air sign, the communicator, the one that governs intellect and the mind and logic, which hopefully ties in with everything we've just said about this sign. And the tarot is the swords.
So basically, the element that is linked to that suit in the tarot is air, which Aquarius is an air sign. So if you do readings, if you have your reading done for you, and you get any swords at this point in time, or maybe that you don't get any swords in your reading, it could be an absence of swords that you might want to make note of. Just be aware that this is the suit that is very tied to air and this zodiac sign, this full moon in Aquarius. So like with air, it represents the logical, the intellectual, the reasonable, decisive characteristics.
The affirmation for full moon in Aquarius is I am wise and full of love, which I think is suited to Aquarius.
Yeah, because it's basically tying in. It's great that you're using your mental skills and your thinking and you're being logical, but you are also full of love.
You need
and you're
to
guided
touch in
by
on
love
your
as well.
emotions, definitely.
And it's about finding the balance, isn't it?
It's worth noting as well, Dee, that Aquarius' ruling planet is Saturn, which is the planet of obstacles and rebellion. So have a little think about what Aquarius means. I've mentioned it's a rebellious sign, leading its own way, its own direction. It's also positive polarity, so it's quite extrovert, it's quite confident, it's quite out there in its opinions. But it's fixed, so it makes the opinions and then it sticks to them. Numerology, number 8.
These are numbers that you want to keep an eye out. If they pop up, then you might want to make note.
See if they come up. Maybe you're adding stuff together. Maybe you look and it's 8 o'clock. Maybe you're at a friend's house and they live at number 8. Once you start to look out for numbers in your life, they're quite significant in their meaning. So number 8, it means connection, abundance, prosperity, ambitious, definitely the Aquarius sign, rule-driven and loyal. And also the number 4, using your own initiative, unique, again, very Aquarius, independent, spiritual initiative, and can be insensitive. Insensitive, that's quite a harsh one, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, I think that might be because if you're too much in your logical brain, you're forgetting about the emotion.
Yeah.
And so just be a little bit careful. And you can be insensitive to yourself as well as to others at this point. Yeah. So, are you being too logical? Are you not paying attention enough to people's feelings, to your own feelings, your own emotion, as well as others? It's just something to
if you tie in, if you think about Aquarius and its logic and its mind and, its thinking and the way that it's social and outgoing and loves to interact with other humans, and then you take into account the full moon, which is an emotional time and brings out the water and the fluidity. These two balance really well. You're not going to find yourself too emotional in this full moon.
It's not the most emotional full moon.
No, it really isn't. And it's a very relaxed sign as well. So actually, I'm excited for this full moon, Dee. We shouldn't be too dreamy. We shouldn't be too focused. We shouldn't be too emotional. This is a really good one for if you want to start practicing meditation or adjust to a full moon. It's not too strong. So I hope that helps explain a little bit about Aquarius and the full moon. Have a good one, Dee, because this is your sign.
Got our full moon episode on our podcast that you might want to listen to if you want to find out a bit more about, for example, full moon baths, moon water, all those kind of, what does a full moon actually mean and what kind of activities might you want to do around about this time. But definitely full moon bath. If you've got time to do that during this full moon cycle, then we recommend it, don't we?
Definitely. There's so much lovely things that you can do on a full moon. Have this time to just reflect, carry on journaling, really have a think about what this time means, what you've learnt so far, jot a few plans for the future during this sign, and relax and enjoy.
Enjoy. Happy full moon. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
want more from us, why don't you head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/We Knew the Moon, and check out some bonus content.
Also, if you want to stay up to date, you can follow us on our Facebook page at we.knew.the.moon. If you could leave us a review on our Facebook page, that would mean a lot.
Our Instagram handle is the same as our Facebook, at we.knew.the.moon. We are on Twitter at We Knew the Moon 1, and we are also on Pinterest. Just search for We Knew the Moon.
Finally, if you want lots more fun, moon info and all things spiritual, plus our lovely shop, please visit our website, weknewthemoon.co.uk.